Hi, the bigger your game grows, the more complicated it becomes, so it's important to keep it organized. Let me show you how to do it. First, let's have a look on Unity. As you can see, I have my prefabs in the prefabs folder, my audio in the audio folder, and so on. You want to keep every data type in its folder, not just create one folder with everything like this one. And you can do the similar thing with your hierarchy. For now I keep everything in the same place, except some objects that are heavily related with each other, for example player and the player body. If you want to make it look better, you can create a simple empty game object with a name that suggests that it's a header of a given section. Now I have general section with my main camera, game manager and the player, UI with my canvases, and lever with other stuff. And if you have something that is purely decorative, for example this plant, you can make it a child object of the background and hide it. For me, now it looks way better. Okay, let's move on and have a look on this enemy. As you can see, it has an enemy script attached and there's a lot of stuff in there. Let's see its code. Here we have just a bunch of public variables. The first thing is that you don't need to always make them public. For instance, this boolean will be always true as we instantiate a game object, so the only reason to make it public is to easily check if we get it working. The same thing goes to the second boolean. Alright, now it's changed and we see fewer things in the inspector. The next thing that helps you organize your code is a header. As you can see, here we have 3 variables related to sounds, so let's make a header for them. It's as simple as that, and in the inspector it looks like this. This is purely an inspector thing, but if you want to make your code organized too, you can use structs. Here we have a public struct stats, which holds stats of our enemy. It's worth to note that you can't use default values here. If you want to use it in the code, for example to change the health, you need to create a variable for it first, and then just use something like mystats.health equals 3. If you want to be able to see it in the inspector, you need to add this line. Now it looks like this. This part of the code only describes what is inside stats struct, but if you want to assign values to a specific game object, you need a variable for it. It's pretty popular to keep things like this at the top of your class. And if we scroll down, we see public enum enemy types, which declares what enemy types we have. So let's move it on top too. Alright, sometimes your class grows really huge and has many variables inside, and it can be a problem if you work with someone else, for example a designer. In this class we have something like speed, and we can only assume that it's a movement speed, but with a tooltip we see that it's a movement speed in word units per second. And your game designer can go to an inspector window, hover their mouse over the speed variable and see what it is. Alright, there's another class, and here I want to show you that this method is not described correctly. It is called spawn, but as you can see we are spawning the prefab infinitely. So it would be smart of us to rename it to spawn infinitely. We can also write a short comment above this line to make sure what it does, but in this example we can just move this prefab to arguments of this IEnumerator. Alright, and I have also renamed this prefab to enemy prefab. And now we know that this line spawns our enemies infinitely. Here I grab it to be able to stop it manually if I want to. Alright, let's go to the next tip, but before that, let's see what this function does. So we have the spawner, it spawns enemies as we should expect, but it also makes a really big mess over there. So let's stop it. So let's see what we can do to fix it quickly. Here I have enemies container, and I want to put enemies here. First I create a new game object, and as I instantiate my prefab, I grab it, and then change its parent to enemies container. Now we have this new game object, and our enemies are spawned inside. Great, the last thing I want to show you is that you can create your own tab in the Unity that does some things. For example, deleting player prefs. Personally I don't use that, but I find it cool enough to show you. All you need to do here is to use Unity Editor library, create a public static void that does something, and use menu item on it. Here you write a name of your custom tab and a path to it. That's it. I hope that helps you with organizing your projects. Have fun working on them, have a good day and see you soon!